I wonder, what does Jesus have to do with the so-called red right wing if it happens to be the wrong wing relative to his nature, his spirit, his behavior, his function, and his wisdom.
Yeah, so you were asking what my response was to your previous statement. And I responded by saying, yeah, I think a lot of it is backwards. You know, people are preaching one thing or doing things in the name of Jesus, but it doesn't have anything to do with what Jesus represents, which is, you know, compassion and a heart for all beings, not any kind of racist rhetoric or action or any of that. It's all garbage.
Well, the order of progression traditionally is, in terms of the beginning being more about one's ignorance, and unfolding through ignorance towards spiritual practice. That means out-of-body practice. It also means selfless practice. So there are many people in the world, and this has been the case since the beginning, who are drawn to the spiritual, don't really understand it. See? And the best they can do is identify it as a religion, something they believe in, because they don't know beyond their belief what's true and what's not true. They have feelings and convictions, but they don't know for sure. So the question then is, how does one know? Often in the history of spiritual evolution, it is said one needs to die to reborn, to be born again. See? But we're not talking about physical death as much as about ego death, and the death of close-heartedness, suffering, aggression, ignorance, unhappiness, general conflict, not being at peace with others, being at war with others. And it seems, according to the little bit I've read of it, Jesus was offering his best understanding and demonstration of being at peace with others. See? Even when others are not at peace with him. So then it's not a matter of them or even others. So one of the views in the wisdom traditions is that where and when there is self, there are others. So self and others are part of a polarization process. Where there is no other, no self, there is no problem. And so the idea proposed over the ages concerning human nature is where there is self, there necessarily has to be other. When self is gone, other is gone. That's a mystery, perhaps a paradox for people. So then ultimately there is no other because there is no self that's real. So according to the traditions of enlightenment, there has never been a self that is real. Or permanent. Or unchanging. Or true. And there's a certain degree of depth implied in that, see. We're talking about another level of perception which is transcendent of self, other, and all else. No self, no other that is critical to the process. Self and other as coincident to perceptions of human beings, but not necessarily real. And of spiritual nature. Spiritual is transcendent. It always is what it is, without any regard or respect for anything other than what that is. See? So it's not about self, it's not about other, except in the very beginning. See? It's like when you're a child, it's about the me. Me, mommy, me, daddy, grandma, everybody else, me, little old me. See? Because there hasn't been any progression beyond the meanness, see, of consciousness. See? And because it's all pulling into, so what the me is the it needs. The me, it, that needs, and it endlessly needs, as it was, or is in the beginning. And then eventually the self becomes self-sufficient, see? And then ultimately self-gratified, see? And then beyond that, self-realized. And then there's nothing else with self-realization. That means there is no self that is anything. See? No single item is a self. The whole thing is the self. See? So that means there's no self, since it's all. See? Everything. It must be nothing in particular. See? See, so the problem is when you put it on yourself, when you create the problem as being yourself, wanting to satisfy yourself, and we see that what it is a burden of self-consciousness. And that also translates into egotism. See? and in some cases loneliness. See? And then the search for other, when there also is no other. There's no self, there is no other. See? Why? Because we're talking about the social field. That's why. Social. Self, other, Pete, me, you, we, ours, us, and so on, and so forth. See? Which, once released into the all that it is, it will always be, whether you call that the universal spirit, the cosmic, love of God, or whatever you want to term it, as. It means the all, the total. No self, no other. It equals happiness. Full spectrum radiance. It's just outflow to the infinite. There's no collapsing into the meanness or the we-ness necessarily. And there is realization as a beginning to life as an infinite proposition of possibilities. And there's it. If we can use the term, it's what it is. Because it is all there is. So be it. Sure. So what it is, it's not a beginning or an ending. It is what it is. It's present, ever present. It's not future, it's not past, it's present. See? It's the reality of now. A lot of people may not think that deeply because they may not be able to perceive that they are in this infinite nowness of itself. So you might ask, are we the infinite nowness of itself? And we have to recognize the affirmative. It is what it is all the time. It's not just anyone or anything. It's everything and everyone simultaneously, living and dying, disappearing and reappearing and so on and so forth. It's all of that. Mystery. Yes. So we have to ask eventually, who are we then? If we're not ourselves or others, who are we? Who is this? See? What is this? Why is this? See? Whatever that is. See? So it is taught in the light of this dilemma, see, that is part of the seeker's process, see, to figure out who, why, when, where, what, see, if anything at all, see. The meditation aspect becomes useful for some. That means stop and don't think. And just be, if you can. People say, be what? Be who? Be it. See? In other words, be your peace. You have to reach really in to be your peace. It's the inside out peace. See? And eventually, we start to realize that we are nobody. We are no self, no mind. See? We're none of these accumulations and karmatic sort of layers of stuff that we inherited from birth. So we're not that. That is not what it is. That's limitation. See? That's the process of becoming small and thus extinct. See? In the most negative sense. Extinction. Poof. So the masters of the tradition say, be happy. And that's not easy to do. See, be true to you as happy. See, originally happy. Joyful. Just born into life. Without others, without self, no enemies. Imagine. No one to dislike but yourself, because that's where the disliking comes from. It comes from yourself. Self-disliking, self. Pushing all of that away, blowing it away, so letting it disappear, letting it be what it always really is, and that's gone, minus the self. Find happiness, present and full. Without thought, without self-image or mind. Find your peace. Be your peace. Share your peace with everything.